How's it going, guys, and welcome back to the channel. And today I'm very excited for this review. After the past couple of uploads of bad reviews, John Henry and Son of the Mask, today we get to talk about Whiplash. Whiplash is a drama film directed by Damien Chazelle, the same man who brought us La La Land. It stars Miles Teller as Andrew Neiman, striving to become the next best jazz drummer. And JK Simmons is Terrence Fletcher, the merciless jazz instructor hoping to make his students into the next best musicians. As a student at Princeton High School, Chazelle was also in a highly competitive jazz band and took inspiration from his experiences. He would eventually turn this into a short film starring Johnny Simmons as Andrew and JK Simmons as Fletcher. It did so well when it debuted at the 2013 Sundance Film Festival that it was eventually made into a full-length feature film in 2014. And was critically acclaimed upon its release. And I'll just say right off the bat, this film is fantastic from start to finish. Back in high school, I used to be in marching band and jazz band, and I used to play the trumpet. My music instructors had always referenced this film whenever we had moments of messing up really badly or doing really well. I hadn't gotten around to watching this film until around last year, and I recently watched it again for this review, and oh my goodness, it was even better the second time around. There's a lot of things to talk about in this movie, and I really can't start this review off without talking about the music. Now, I love jazz music, and some of the selections in this film were so fun and catchy to listen to. Of course, you got the title song Whiplash, which is playing in the background right now. You got Caravan, and you got Upswingin', which is botched in the movie for obvious reasons, but the soundtrack has the good version you can listen to if you want to check it out. It baffles me knowing that jazz isn't as appreciated as it was when it first originated. Many people seem to overlook the fact that jazz served as inspiration for future genres and artists, and that it's just as popular now as it was back then. I've seen some reviews of this movie and people criticizing it by saying, "Oh, jazz isn't a tough activity, it's just music. It's not like football where you have to push yourself to the limit and work hard all the time." While I understand where the argument comes from, I have to disagree. Sure, some may think music is just about reading notes on a piece of paper and you're all good, right? Yeah, I don't think so. Being a musician ever since I was in first grade, I can tell you right now that it's not as easy as it looks. It takes time to learn how to read the music. It takes time to learn how to play your instrument. It takes time to learn the scales, and there's so much more to it. You want to be able to stand out, and you want to make yourself better than the rest. So what do? You practice, you practice, you practice. And eventually you can reach that goal, just like in football. There's even a point in the film where Andrew and his father are at a dinner table and the other family doesn't care to talk about Andrew's musicianship, but they would rather talk about the guy who plays sports at the table. The line that Andrew says about dying poor and being remembered than being rich and nobody knowing him displays his dedication to his passion and being the best he can be rather than working just for another paycheck. You know, you can throw me into a football field and I'll have no clue what I'm doing. In fact, I'd probably get destroyed, and I'm not afraid to admit it. But for me to say that the same amount of work isn't required for me to play this trumpet and become the next Louis Armstrong is just crazy. In fact, you'd have to throw me in a mental institute. Speaking of Andrew, let's just talk about his dedication to drumming. Right away, I have to give credit to Chazelle for casting Miles Teller, who's self-taught in his drumming. I think doing that really helped elevate the realistic feel of the drama throughout this movie. Right from the very beginning, you can see that Andrew strives to be the next Buddy Rich and will do whatever it takes to reach that point. He saves one room in his dorm just for his drum set. He's willing to stay at school for hours and put himself in pain just to reach that double-time swing tempo. And he even went as far as to have his music memorized, which ended up saving his ass during a competition and making him a chord drummer. Yeah, memorizing music for marching band was not an easy experience, and doing it for jazz band, I can't imagine doing that at all. I even happen to know a few people in band that didn't want to memorize their music. If you're watching this video and you were in band with me, you know who you are. Considering how the drummer is the most essential part of a jazz band, how could you not want Andrew in your band? I'll admit though that I thought he was a complete imbecile for breaking up with Nicole and making all the assumptions on their future just so he could pursue his career. But it did bite him in the ass though, because from that very moment, everything just fell apart for Andrew. And that climax at the end of the movie, absolute perfection. After the emotional distress and practicing that Andrew had under him, he proved to Terrence that he's capable of becoming the next Buddy Rich by showing off his solo drumming skills no matter if Terrence can sabotage him. It took getting a cymbal thrown at his head to come out with one of the best solos played on the drums. I get chills just from watching it, and I even get chills just from talking about it right now. Oh, and if you're one of those people who criticize the movie for things like the bloodied hands and Andrew getting into a car accident with hardly any injuries, you clearly don't understand films and their fictional aspects. Of course you'll have over-the-top elements such as that, especially in a drama film. At most, I know that drumming as hard as Andrew did could cause some severe calluses on your hands and maybe some sore arms, but that's it. But I think the blood helps in displaying how determined Andrew is in being the best that he could be in his career, even if it means destroying his body to do so. And yes, if you got T-boned by a truck, you'd most likely be dead. But again, here's the film displaying Andrew's dedication to being at the competition, even if he's not in an ideal physical state. I knew someone that didn't show up to rehearsals because they had laundry to do. Let that sink in. If Andrew can show up to a competition after being at practice for 2 a.m. the night before, and even almost dying in an accident, that shows some true grit. And obviously this movie review wouldn't be complete without talking about the man himself, JK Simmons as Terrence Fletcher.
You are a worthless, friendless, faggot-lipped little piece of shit.
You've got Thanos, you got Scar, you got the Joker, you got Darth Vader, some of the baddest antagonists in movies, and then you've got Terrence Fletcher. My god, that name just screams evil. What an absolute monster of a jazz instructor. When given direction during production, Chazelle stated that he didn't want to see a human being and that he wanted a monster, an animal from JK Simmons. What makes this even better is that apparently Simmons off screen was a sweet guy. But as soon as the camera rolls, he'll have no problem telling you to go fuck a donkey because you missed a note. It's almost as if J. Jonah Jameson had decided to become a drill sergeant and unload it all on Reed Richards and not Peter Parker. Right from the moment I saw Terrence on screen and he asked Andrew why he stopped playing, I knew that I was in for a ride. Just from the moment he enters his classroom and the students freeze wondering what he has to say, has you at the edge of your seat. This man has absolutely no limits and no filter to him. Obviously. If he wants to take over a classroom, he'll do it, no questions asked. If he wants to insult you on your physical appearance, you better watch out. My god, part of me would have loved to see this man as my jazz instructor and back in high school, just to see what he would have to say to all the students. But at the same time, I'll admit, yeah, I'd be scared shitless.
If you deliberately sabotage my band, I will fuck you like a pig.
Even the cinematography has a big part to aid in Simmons' performance. Almost every shot is composed of these close-ups, making you feel like he's right in front of you, yelling in your ear. When he's in the class, he's seen as the dominant force and nothing will get past him, even if you try. I could feel my heart pounding out of my chest every time the camera decided to get super close to him. Even the little things in music that are easy to fix would be terrifying to do in front of this man. You don't know you're out of tune? Get kicked out of class. If you're not quite as tempo, get a cymbal thrown at your head. Distinguishing the difference between rushing and dragging tempo, you get slapped in the face to aid you. I swear, for people that get affected easily by psychological abuse on others, Fletcher may be hard to get through because he's that ferocious. Let's admit it, this man would probably scare the living hell out of Thanos.
Get the fuck out of my sight before I demolish you.
Even when you think that Terrence is just the guy that finds joy in people's suffering, he has good reasoning for his methods. Some of his best quotes come in the jazz club after being kicked out of the university. One of those quotes includes, "There are no two words in the English language more harmful than good job." He understands that to be great, you have to do better than just a good job. Think about a time in life when someone told you good job, but you felt like you could have done a lot better than what you did. I'm sure all of us have had that moment. It's the only way we can grow. If we feel like we fail, we'll strive to do better the next time we try again. This is another one of the quotes that I like from him. I don't think people understood what it was I was doing at Schaefer. I wasn't there to conduct. I mean, any fucking moron can wave his arms and keep people in tempo. I was there to push people beyond what's expected of them. I believe that is an absolute necessity. Otherwise, we're depriving the world of the next Louis Armstrong. And he's not wrong. Remember how I talked about how music may seem like a profession where you aren't pushed to the limit? Well, JK Simmons proved that wrong by saying becoming one of the next big musicians requires just as much hard work and discipline than something like football. Andrew shows this through his countless hours of practicing, him staying at rehearsal for long periods of time, and even destroying his body. But obviously, tossing cymbals at your student's head is a little bit much. You're gonna decapitate someone like that. Overall, this movie is an absolute roller coaster ride from start to finish. Every second of Whiplash will have you at the edge of your seat wondering what's to come. Most of the movie is realistic enough to the point where it felt relatable in a way and kept me entertained with the performances by the actors as well as the catchy jazz music. Even if you aren't a musician or don't like jazz music, I think this movie is definitely worth a watch. I'm sure many people would be able to find an inspirational moment in this film that they can relate to their everyday lives. For me, you had better believe that this movie is getting 10 out of 10 drum sets.
So I'm not gonna have you cost us a competition because your mind's on a fucking Happy Meal instead of on pitch.
But what do you guys think of Whiplash? Do you love it? Do you hate it? Do you not care to watch it? I'd love to know in the comments below. And if you made it this far in the video, I'd appreciate it if you leave a like on this video and subscribe for more future movie content. Until next week, guys, I'll see you later.